In December 2025, the British government borrowed on average £374 million every day. And every day, that borrowing must pass through the same 21 firms. They don't vote, you didn't elect them, but they sit between Britain and its money. Imagine you're standing on a bridge, the only bridge across a river. Everyone crossing must pass through where you stand. The flow never stops because people always need to get to either side. Now strip away the river, strip away the bridge. Place on one side a government that needs to borrow, and on the other side, investors who want to lend. In the middle where you stand, you see everything that passes through. Now this structure is real, but in this analogy, who do you represent? A bank, but not any random bank. You'd be one of only 21 special banks. You would have been designated a status. You would be a gilt-edged market maker, a gem for short. Because something strange happens when the UK government decides to borrow. It creates a special object. The object is called a gilt. Back in the old days, gilts used to look like a certificate with gold edges, gilded edges. That's where the name comes from. It signaled prestige, but more importantly, trust. Today, these things are digital, but what matters is what they actually do. Gilts are special because once you own one, it pays you back with interest. They're as safe as government itself. Because government backs them, they're used as collateral, and many other interest rates are linked to their price, which is why they're always in demand. But what links gilts to gems? Well, only gems can move them from the government to the other side of the bridge, because gems are positioned right between the treasury and the rest of the financial system. So here's a question. What would you do if you could see every order being placed for these special objects? In fact, let me put it another way. What kind of power do you wield from knowledge that others don't have? To be designated a gem is supposed to mean resisting temptation. So what happens when firms in that position fail to resist?
I told them we're about to have a catastrophe take place.
2009, the financial system is in free fall.
We have a national emergency.
10 of the world's biggest banks have set up a $70 billion emergency fund to help stabilize the market. Lehman Brothers is going bankrupt.
Lehman Brothers has collapsed, and with it, lost its gem designation. Puff, just like that. Gone.
When bank shares get hammered, people's pensions get hammered, so everybody loses.
The government and the Bank of England are frantically using every tool they have to cushion the fall. At 5 of the remaining gems, traders start opening private chat rooms on Bloomberg terminals, one-to-one, competitor to competitor. Because to borrow, the government holds an auction for gilts. Gems submit bids. Whoever offers the highest price wins, because higher prices mean a lower borrowing cost for the government. At least that's how it's supposed to work. But if you could agree with other gems on a set price for gilts, you could control exactly what government paid you back. That's where the private chat rooms took center stage. Traders were showing each other their hands before the auction started.
Traders at 5 major banks allegedly colluded in chat rooms.
Remember that bridge? These gems were able to fix trades on the other side of it too. So when the Bank of England hit full panic mode during the Great Recession, buying gilts back at a scale Britain had never seen before, this cartel coordinated on those sales as well. 2009, 2010, 2011, all the way to 2013. 5 years and a web of private conversations. And then it just stopped. Between 2013 and 2018, complete silence. But when you zoom out, you see that this wasn't just a UK story. Regulators in Europe and elsewhere were seeing the same tactics. Private chat rooms, bond markets, coordinated pricing. But back in the UK for 5 years, these chat rooms sat untouched on servers. Traders moved on. The banks involved said nothing until one day in 2018, Deutsche Bank walked into the regulator's office. You see, regulators have this standing offer. If you're part of something illegal and you're the first to report it, you get to walk free.
Deutsche said it was cooperating.
Leading up to 2018, these investigations were stacking up everywhere. If you're Deutsche Bank looking around at the time, maybe that immunity carrot was starting to look more like a lifeline.
After a rocky decade saw big losses, banks and fears among regulators the bank was teetering.
After all, it wasn't their first race to the principal's office. They kept showing up in documents, sometimes fined, sometimes getting immunity.
Deutsche has owned up to it first, so they're not going to be fined. Citi admitted to the collusion, so it's getting a discounted fine.
With all that self-snitching and investigations stacked up around the world, the UK Competition and Markets Authority opened its own. The investigation took 6 years, the longest in CMA history. In 2025, some of the largest firms in global finance coughed up fines. Together, they paid just over £104 million. The case was classed as by-object infringement. Legal speak for this. Once a conduct is proven, a penalty automatically follows. And you curious people want to know how brutal the fines were. I've got you covered. Here's what hours of digging surfaced. Cobwebs. Because the by-object classification meant no one needed to calculate what the firms actually gained. Calculating it would require an avalanche of resources, internal trading records, price movements across thousands of trades, evidence only the firms themselves control. 6 years of investigation, and the system never worked out what the bad behavior paid out. It's possible that by-object is a tough legal standard, a true deterrent, or simply the only possible standard for a system ill-equipped to measure the gains. But it gets even stranger. The CMA reduced the fines because banks now monitor their chat rooms. Does this surveillance cover personal phones or dinner conversations? Maybe. But the firm's actions prior to UK intervention were enough to earn them leniency in the UK. And yet, no one can still tell you what the banks raked in. Impressive.
So I guess the big question is then for investors, how bad could it get or could it be for these banks?
I don't think it's going to materially hit the bottom line.
Royal Bank of Canada paid the largest portion, £34.2 million. In 2024, the year before the fines, they reported a net profit of over £9 billion. In cases like this, penalties usually fall on institutions, not on individuals. The traders involved, none of them went to jail. The banks, every single one of them kept their GEMS designation, same priority access to gilts, same special position in the system. Lehman Brothers 2008 collapsed, so it lost its designation. State Street 2011 chose to exit the business, it resigned its designation. Commerce Bank 2009 resigned. Scotiabank 2018 resigned. In recorded history, these are the only times that GEM status has been lost. The government was and still is borrowing hundreds of billions of pounds a year through this layer. The system must continue. Week after week, month after month. And once you've built a system where only 21 firms can do the job, you can't exclude them without disrupting it. They need each other. But how deep does this dependency actually go? For decades, a certain kind of meeting has taken place. A junior treasury minister sits down with the GEMS and the debt management office, the part of the treasury that runs these auctions. These meetings usually happen every quarter and have been on record since the late 1990s. But in 2025, something changed. On the 6th of March, the top minister in the treasury, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, penciled in a new kind of meeting directly with the GEMS. Now, this is a giant leap up the Treasury's chain of command. It's now happening twice a year, just before the Treasury, our elected officials, make major decisions. The stated purpose, and I'm quoting, is to hear the first-hand views of this important group. The meetings operate under Chatham House rules. What's said can circulate, but who said what stays off the public record. For decades, junior ministers and civil servants managed the GEM relationship. Now, the boss, the Chancellor, has decided that being in the room personally is vital. Just listening.
She's coming out, let's listen in.
I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
It's happening after an explosion in gilt yields helped end the careers of both a Chancellor and a Prime Minister in just 45 days. Given that, you could call these meetings wise, prudent even. After all, government borrowing depends on this group. But what's clear is that dependency on them is deepening. And it's not just the Treasury. The Financial Conduct Authority, the regulator that's responsible for keeping markets in check, publishes reports on its own effectiveness. If you open one, you'll find sentences like this. For every firm that comes in contact with the FCA, 1.49 other firms are scared into behaving themselves. For every rule they stop being broken, another 6.6 are supposedly stopped by fear. And every year, up to £1.4 billion of harm is prevented.
I'm placing you under arrest for the future murder.
Minority Report. Eat your heart out. Every figure is modelled, it's projected, estimated from surveys and assumptions. The system that spent 6 years investigating gilt market collusion and never calculated what the conduct was actually worth claims to measure with decimal precision harms that never happened. Deterrence is asserted, it's not quite observed. Now pull back further. Look at the 21 firms that hold gem status. Many are headquartered abroad and most answer to global shareholders and clients, not to Britain. If Britain has to rely on big global banks, banks that can pull their money and attention elsewhere tomorrow, just to be seen as credible, what does that tell you about where power really sits? I'm genuinely interested in your view. Leave a comment and it will get read. When legitimacy of the pound relies on this type of structure, how is that any different to outsourcing legitimacy itself? Really? But there's still one question left. Who pays for all this? When you follow the money, you hear a particular kind of language.
Reassure us and the markets.
Fiscal credibility is
confidence and stability.
Reassure investors and the markets.
Market stability.
Need for fiscal credibility.
Uncertainty and a loss of confidence in the UK.
To restore market confidence in the UK.
It's abstract, it's technical, bloodless. But watch what happens when confidence needs to be restored.
Cuts, £3 billion of cuts when it comes to departments, and the more controversial news that 10 million pensioners will find their winter fuel allowance cut.
A spending cut here, a benefit frozen there, and then sometimes something more specific.
The really big thing is a cut to disability benefit.
A disability benefit redesigned. Fewer people are eligible this time, not because their condition changed, because the criteria did. The language is vague when big finance panics, but the damage is physical when governments step in. And when the dust settles, when confidence is restored, the same 21 firms remain in the position. The costs were absorbed elsewhere. Every day, Britain borrows. Every day, gilts are created. And every day, they pass through the same 21 firms that sit between the state and everyone else. This is the design. We're told it's necessary, that sovereign borrowing requires firms like these in the middle, that this is simply how modern finance works. But other systems exist. Some countries issue debt through state-owned banks. Some use far broader dealer pools, and some are experimenting with direct channels to citizens. These alternatives get called risky, unproven.
On saying we're going to do something that basically no government has done in Britain ever.
Illegitimate.
Right, we're going to have a completely different idea of how this economy is run, how we deal with bond markets, how we deal with capital flows. You better have your figures right.
Often by the very institutions that profit from the current design. Do these alternatives work? Better questions are, is it true that there's no other way?
But the details of how it works are so technical and bizarre that 99% of people are voting and hearing about something that we don't understand.
Or is it a story that's just being told by the people it benefits?
And fiscal stability is a choice that reflects economic reality, because I know that this sector is the crown jewel in our economy. My thanks to the City of London Corporation.
Until we ask this question collectively, we won't know if the price we're paying is truly necessary or just one we've been told to accept. This has been a story about a system that has learned how to avoid becoming one. Until now. If you're still here, you're part of the tiny group that sees power hiding in boring structures. My love for you is real because you've already made a difference. If you appreciate the work, salute your boy. Hit like and subscribe. Those small things are what will keep these videos coming and make the next one arrive faster. Love, I'm out. Peace.